Welcome to John's Tarot. Welcome to John's Tarot. I hope you're all doing great out there. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So let's just go ahead and finish this up. My positions on my experience with death, and today I'm going to talk about what death has taught me. And in my last two episodes, I talked about experiencing it as a professional, experiencing it from the outside, experiencing it as a loved one, experiencing it as a son or a daughter, and what I learned from it. And then I talked about my own experiences with it as I was faced with death in my own life, and I had to look at myself, and I had to face those specific issues. What did I learn? And I talked about it. Today I'm going to talk about what death taught me about living. And I can't tell you, the things I've learned, what it teaches you about yourself is invaluable. Not only things about courage, that's all very important. It also teaches you about what you're actually afraid of, what you're willing to sacrifice for, whether your values hold up under pressure, and whether your identity depends upon circumstances or something deeper is what some of the deeper things it's taught me. It's also taught me that death teaches us to appreciate life. Character is revealed when fear and purpose collide. I like that first part, what death teaches us to appreciate life. I can't tell you how many times I've left the ICU after a particular difficult day. And I live in Southern California, and maybe I look up into that cool, dark Southern California sky, and I see the stars, and I breathe the cold night air. And I said, man, it's good to be alive. I think I'll go out and have me an ice cream. You know, one of the things it teaches you is really how to appreciate life and how to appreciate the important things and what's really important. What's really important in your life is that, and I get caught up with those things too, with my ego desires and my ego wishes and but what's really, really important is to have another day, one more day. I remember that Princess Di, poor lady, passed away. And you know what? I'm a poor guy. I'm just a poor RN. I'm a poor nurse working out here doing the best I can. I got more than her because I'm still alive. I got more life. I got another chance. Each day is another chance. And that's one thing you learn about death. That, as long as you're alive, you got another chance. Another thing I learned about death is karma. Now, after you die, you cannot change your karma. You cannot change events in the physical world. You can only do that when you're alive, when you have material form, when you're alive. You can change your karma. You could say a nice thing to somebody. You can open the door for a little old lady at the grocery store. You can help your neighbor take out their trash. You can change your karma while you're alive. Cannot change your karma after you go. That's where you get ghosts. They're stuck. They're unable to change your karma. They want you to pray for them, and there's nothing they can do because they've lost that material form. I talked about COVID, and I've talked about it before as I served as an ICU nurse on COVID, and some of the things that I learned there. And I learned who I really am. I learned when things get tough, am I willing to do what is necessary? And I learned it about myself. I don't care about you. I don't care about what other people do. I care about me, what I do, how I behave, when under significant pressure, when under the threat of death. And I am true to my values. I know that even if I'm scared, I will perform. After I've made a decision to go through with it, I will do so. And I have a proven track record of doing so. I know that I am loyal. I was loyal to my hospital. I showed up every day, every scheduled day, and probably a few days that I wasn't scheduled. I showed up. And I didn't show up for the money. I showed up because that was my decision. That I was going to go ahead and do this. I was going to go ahead and be overcome my own personal fear and do it anyway, no matter what was going on, and serve despite my own fears. I think I talked about it last week or my last video, that courage isn't lack of fear, and not that at all. Courage is having fear, but doing what you need to do anyway, regardless. And I learned that about myself. Do I have that? Do I have that inner sense of being, that inner sense of doing? And I learned I could be a good example to others. That's one of the things I did. I had a family during that time, especially during the COVID times. And, I was an example to my family. Now, you go, what are you talking about? My family continued to work through the whole pandemic. Everybody served in whatever capacity and whatever they did. They all went. I tend to believe they were following my example. Johnny went in, and they went in. Dad went in, and they went in. My wife continued to work. A lot of her work was still at home, but she was doing some work outside the home too during that period. And then also my stepdaughter continued to work during that period. One of her jobs got shut down, but at another job she continued to go in. She continued to work, and they also faced their fear, and because I faced my fear, and because I showed them how. I think I was an example. I'll always remember during that period some of my fondest memories. That every Friday night we generally go out and have a little family dinner, and that during that period of time we didn't, especially during early pandemic, we didn't want to do that. I'll share this with you. And that what I would do is we'd go out and, what do you want to eat? Anything you want to eat. We'd buy pizza and chicken wings, or whatever we can get takeout. And we'd come home, and I like watching the Munsters, the old black and white Munsters. I have them on video, and I would turn on the Munsters videos, and we would have a family dinner and watch the Munsters. And those are some of the nicest memories I have during that period of time. And you learn about yourself. You learn what's important. What's important is relationships, the people in your life. That's what's important. And that's what I take I don't take that for granted. I get frustrated sometimes, and sometimes with my family, and that happens. But I really am proud of my family, and they've done well, and I care about them. And those relationships are more important than any kind of money I have, or any money I'm going to take with me, because I think is appreciation for those relationships are going to be one of the few things I take with me when my life comes to an end. And those are some of the things that I learned about life. And the other thing, what else? Don't hang on too tightly. Even even to life. When it's time, it's going to be time, and live your life the best you can every day. Do the best job you can every day. Now, I don't do a perfect job every day. Everything I do is not perfect, but I can look back and say, you know what? I did the best I could. I did the best I could, and have no regrets. Like if like when me becoming a nurse, there was at one point I was not doing well academically in nursing school, and I decided that was doing some prayer and meditation, and I decided that no matter what, I wasn't going to quit. That they could ask me to leave, I could fail, but I wasn't going to quit. And I made it through. Somehow I made it through. I just because I wouldn't quit. So I have no regrets. Had I quit at the end of my life, I would say, I could have been a nurse, but I quit. Have no regrets. That's another important thing you need to learn as you go through life. So let's go ahead and go over to the tarot page. My ability to read tarot is a gift, an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. So, living after making what would the tarot like to tell us about living after making peace with death? I've kind of made peace with death to the best of my ability. I've been exposed to it a lot, and Like I said, I'm more of a reincarnation type person. And even if I was a Christian person, I would say, the God would say to me, you weren't in the Catholic Church, but you did pretty good. You helped some of my people. And we really, come on in. That's what I believe. I don't know if it's going to be true or not. I'll find out at the end. But you did the best you can. You did the best you could. And I know I've done the best I could. So, what would the tarot like to tell us about living after making peace with death? What would the tarot like to tell us about living after making peace with death? And we'll wrap up this somewhat boring 3 episodes. But I think this one will go in my mini-series. My mini-series part of the webpage. And what would the tarot like to tell us about living after making peace with death? What would the tarot like to tell us about living after making peace with death? I'm going to cut the cards and let's see what we get. How could that be? This is what happened on, I just draw them. This is what I get. The Ace of Swords, truth, knowledge, victory in legal affairs, victory in armed affairs. But what you should learn about facing death is that the victory is over yourself, over your own fears. I talked about this already, about victory in overcoming your own fears, your own anxieties, and that you can do this. I don't know what else to say. It's a very tough topic. I'm doing the best I can. Victory, what to learn after making peace with death, that you can do this. And you're going to find out the truth about yourself. And sometimes that's a hard truth. And I hope you find out a good truth if you have to face it. Second card, the Lovers. And and making peace with death, living after making peace with death, you learn about the different parts of yourself. You see the Lovers, you see a man, a woman, a man with the tree of desire behind him, and the woman, the tree of desire. The woman has the apple tree with the snake, the Adam and Eve tree, and then I think it's Saint Michael. That has to do with the different parts of yourself. If you have faced that type of experience, you learn about different parts of yourself. And in this card, it has to do with the man is consciousness, the woman is subconsciousness, and Saint Michael is superconsciousness. And again, that's how when I read tarot, those are the things that are working through me. The superconsciousness is working through my subconscious and my consciousness, but I've become comfortable with those different parts of myself, and I'm not afraid to look at them. Also, we'll talk about the Lovers is relationships, that you need to learn what's important. And I talked about that. Relationships are probably the most important thing you have in your life. If you're lucky enough to have a loving relationship, probably a good idea to take care of that. Okay? And then the third card is the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands, you see a man holding a globe and and he also has 2 wands. When you run into these types of things, and these are just things in life, my life is not special. A lot of people run into life and death situations all the time. After making peace with death, you understand that this was me looking at the distance and having to make a decision, gathering information, all the information I could make, all the information I could gather in order for me to make a decision. And when you face death, you have to make a decision. How am I going to face it? How am I going to do this? Is the chances astronomical that I'll survive? Is there a chance? And is this my karma? Is this what I need to do? Is this what I've been put on this earth to do? I talked about my experience on the ICU. I think that's what I was trained to do. This was part of my karma. And are you willing to face it? And you'll find out if you have to face these types of things. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. I hope my little discussion on death didn't cause too much pain.
The pain.
Yeah, I hope it didn't cause too much pain. Let's move over and.
Goodbye, Professor Marvel, and thanks a lot!
Well, it was my pleasure. Um, I hope to see you next week, and I haven't got a topic yet. We'll find out. You can contact me from my webpage, the new rebuilt johnsterrell.net, with the mini series and the contact page and the Soul Awakening series is up there. And I hope you enjoy it. If you have any suggestions, drop me a suggestion. Till next time we meet, be careful, be cool, be kind, and remember, find courage, have faith, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Okay, bye-bye.